Oh, hello. Uh, Sorry, that's kind of awkward. Hey, this is Professor Moon here. I'm in my home in Ohio, actually, where my parents live. I've still been there. There have been some family reasons to be here longer, so I actually haven't gotten back to Richmond. Uh, these books aren't mine. They're actually mostly my dad's. You can actually see there's a picture of my parents and my sister, brother, and me when we were little. Anyway, this video is just touch base with you guys, say hello, social base, touch social base with you guys. Um, I'm gonna be, having to get used to this as you are, and so I'm gonna cover a few points that'll be important for us to go through. And one is kind of like I already said on the Blackboard. I'll be posting these videos as lectures. I'll be posting the handouts for the readings, um, and I'm also setting up a discussion board, so I'll talk about that in a second. So in this video, I'm gonna just talk about, let's see here, make a couple points about the midterm. Um, very little about that. A little more on the discussion board. Talk about the paper that's due this Saturday, and that'll be the end of this video. And then the next video we'll start talking about chapter 1. Okay, so first thing about the midterm is, on the whole, people did pretty well, but I want people to contact me or email me if they want to ask about any of the issues or any of the answers they gave in their essays, or if they want any more details about that. Um, yeah, one thing is most of the midterm will not be on the final exam. So it doesn't mean I'm encouraging you to forget everything, but just letting you know that won't have to be your focus. Most of anything about Schellenberg and the divine hiddenness argument. Um, on the other hand, two things, the main things that will be on the final that were from the midterm are anything about logic, modus ponens, modus tollens, the argument forms, validity, or soundness. Those are still skills that I want students to get, as well as how to make a decision table and how to calculate expected value or expected utility. So, and knowing what strong and weak dominants are. So those are these things are more lasting uh, uh, skills I want you to have beyond this class. I want to make sure you have. So that's on midterm and then final. Okay, so there's that. All right, next on my list is discussion board. So I've opened up a discussion board. I might ask some questions, but there is in the syllabus a slot for um, there is a slot for participation grade, and normally I just take care of that by seeing your attendance and by just seeing how you participate. Now it's harder to do that because you guys can't really attend. So this is where the discussion board becomes important. If you want to kind of keep up to date, like do what's equivalent to attending and being online, I'm not expecting a lot, but if you just post a question or make a comment on somebody else's question, at least once or twice a week, that should be enough to cover the attendance or participation portion of of our class. So just once or twice a week. Twice is better, and that kind of covers like two classes, and it's very little actually, but I think it's a good way to keep staying engaged. And by participate, I mean like something a little more engaging with the material. So a question beyond just um, when's the paper due again, or I don't know, something like that. You shouldn't be asking that because I'll be having that in the announcements, or it's already in the announcements, but a question about the content. So also, just as a reminder, I do count, if you email me personally, just a question you have about the content or whatever, I do take that as participation as well. Okay, so that's on the discussion board. And then just go on Blackboard to the left, you click discussion, and then you'll see something I put up there, a forum, I guess. You click on that, and then you create a thread. Go to create thread, And that's how you can start a discussion. I know some of you have done this for other classes. I've actually never done this before, so it's something I'm still trying to figure out. And again, email me if you think you'll have any problems with this. Okay, next, you guys have a paper due. Okay, so if you don't have the paper assignment, just take a moment to look it up. Okay, you can press pause. It's on Blackboard. It should say paper 1 assignment. Okay, I'm assuming you found it or you paused and then you found it. Okay, so what's on here? I just generally have 2 paper topics and one. Okay, I'll just list a few things. One is due on March 29th, 11:59 p.m. rather than March 22nd, which was a couple days ago. I actually have a word maximum rather than a word minimum. So what I do want to aim and help students learn how to write more succinctly. Okay, so the goal isn't just to write a longer paper with more fluff. That's actually a pet peeve of mine. Um, okay, so next I have these 2 paper topics there, and they're pretty straightforward. One is I actually in the assignment I tried to give you kind of a almost an outline for how your paper could look. So I'll look at the second one since we've been thinking about Rhoda, but you can also write on the hiddenness argument as well. So 2. Does Rhoda successfully defend his first premise? If Christianity is 50% likely to be true, then it is rational to commit to God in the Christian way. Explain his argument for this position. Okay, so then, okay, this will include explaining what committing to God in the Christian way means, presenting a basic decision table, and explaining how he determines the values of the outcomes. Now, you don't have to go into a lot of detail with that part, but you'll just have to present some of his main points. Then discuss what you think are the most interesting objections. Okay, and one actually is enough. One good objection that's dealt with well is better than discussing in your paper 2 objections that you do kind of in a half-hearted, shoddy way. I'd rather you discuss 1 objection really well rather than 2 that you don't really deal with well. Okay. Lastly, provide your own original evaluation of whether it is reasonable to believe in Rhoda's argument. Okay, this can be done by something along the lines of the following: present an original criticism of one of the objections to Rhoda's argument, or provide a new argument for one of Rhoda's responses to the criticisms. So what I'm looking for there is something original, something from you. It doesn't have to be crazy, you know, it doesn't have to like change all the philosophy, but it should be something that's original, thoughtful from you, to show that you're not just regurgitating material. Okay, so basically, I kind of give you, kind of your main things to do, right? You're gonna have an intro paragraph. I'll just got my intro paragraph. Then you're gonna present and explain Rhoda's argument. Then you're gonna give a reply, and then you're gonna give at the end your own original objection or new argument or something or the other. Okay, so there's that. And then I give a lot of guidelines to try to help you work through the paper, to give you advice. Every paper should have an introductory paragraph. I do want your first sentence to be your thesis. And normally that thesis is going to be something like, I will argue that Rhoda is correct about X, or I will argue that Rhoda is incorrect about X. Okay? I should maybe incorrect about X. So you should be having a thesis, a claim that you're either defending or arguing for. Okay, and normally it's going to say Rhoda's right or Rhoda's wrong, but you want it to be a claim. Not okay. You don't really have to do. You don't really have to have outside reading. I actually care less about you doing research and just saying what other people have said. I care a little more about you being able to show your mastery of the material and then show that you know how to present your own original criticism. I'm less interested in you actually, for this class, I'm more interested in that than your own looking up materials and so forth. So you should be fine with just the Rhoda and the Schellenberg. If you want to do more research, that's fine, but it's not required. Okay, but next, if you are going to do outside reading and research, that's going to affect your ideas, and you use one of those ideas, then you've got to cite your work. Okay, my first semester, or my first year at VCU, I caught 5 or 6 plagiarism cases. If you just cite the work, if you're ever taking word for word, you got to put quotation marks around what you're writing. Okay, so make sure you do that. Okay, I'm just continuing to look down. So make sure you follow a lot of these directions. I highly recommend you give guideposts. In the beginning of a paragraph, just say, I will now present a response to Rhoda's claim, or I will now present an objection to Rhoda's response, or something. But each paragraph should be defending a single idea and developing it, rather than mixing a bunch of ideas. That's not what you should be doing. Okay, let's see. A lot of this is pretty straightforward. I hope you do read all of this. I put asterisks around use good grammar and good punctuation because I know you guys are an upper level class, but this is still a way in which I find a lot of students losing points. So I do value you knowing your grammar and punctuation. If you're ever unsure about something, I have this on the paper. Uh, just Grammarly.com. If you just put Grammarly and then what you have a question on, like Grammarly semicolon or something like that, that should then you'll get rules on how to use your semicolon well. Another rule I have for this paper: don't use rhetorical questions. That doesn't mean I'm against rhetorical questions generally, but I do find at the undergraduate level, students use rhetorical questions as a mask for not having uh, an argument, basically. So people might go, well, how would Rhoda respond to this? And just leave it at that. Or um, so yeah, so just state your main claim. Just maybe Rhoda has no response to this. Make the claim, a little more boldly. Um, Okay, remember that. Well, no, I guess that's good. Also, don't, when I say in this, you should be able to give background. Imagine that you're not writing for your professor, but you're writing to someone who does not know about the topic. Um, but so any new terms, they should be explained. But although in this sheet, I also give you examples of words you don't have to define, like validity, soundness, modus ponens, etc. You don't have to define those, but you should define everything else. Things like if you're writing on Schellenberg non-resistant non-belief, these are the sorts of things you should explain. When you first heard things like non-resistant non-belief, you might have had to think about it a little bit, right? And it was helpful when Schellenberg explained it. So you should be doing the same thing. So write as if you're writing for someone who doesn't know the topic. When you're explaining something in general in philosophy, using examples is helpful. Like giving an illustration of your point as example. Like when we were going through Schellenberg's argument, some of his points didn't make sense, and then he gives the Fred Sally case or the convicted mother case, and you're like, oh, that's what he means by, if you love someone, then you'll always be open to a relationship with them. I guess in that case, he was making the foot point, but it's when you give those cases that your reader understands, and that's what you care about. Okay, looks like that's some of the main points in there. Again, feel free to email me any questions, and that's the paper. So with that, I'm going to end this video, and then after that, I'll make the video that's going to be on our chapter. All right, so yeah, see you guys later. Bye.